Okay, let's... God, where are we? What's going on?
It actually worked, and I have a reasonable clue as to why.
Okay, I'm going to assume none of that actually went out, so let's start over with a nice intro and stuff. I missed clicking the button on the screen that makes things actually go out to everybody. I don't know. Anyway, this is a manure sprinkler controller. This goes on the back of a tractor that attaches to this giant wide thing that you put poop into, and it goes in a field and it grows our food for us. However, when the owner of this one tried to bring it out for this year's use, it just wouldn't go. And the symptom we saw when I was out checking it in the field, literally, was that this controller would just say no connection. And this is obviously a very modern device. It's got a little wireless 868 megahertz thing on it, and it would not connect. However, when I tried it just a few minutes ago, it actually did. So let's give it another try. We'll turn on the power and make sure nothing's going to go on fire. I think so. Right, so we have a red light, which we did have in the field as well, that's drawing 260 milliamps. Let's turn on the controller and see what we get. And this seems to get us a happy symbol now. You can see we have a little signal there, and if we go into the menu and check the software version, yeah, we do get data for the connected device as well. So this is actually working right now. So what can we make from that? Well, it's considerably warmer now. It's been sitting inside. I've been mucking around with it. I've mechanically disturbed it. I even had this board out, plop, and put it back on. And it is liquid damage. So evidently we have got some sort of bad connection somewhere. So let's dig in and see what we have to work with. Because obviously I can't just give this back to the customer. It is here for a reason. So let's bring it in under the microscope and see what I noticed out in the field when I was climbing the back of a tractor like a proper farm boy. Where are we? There we go. So this thing has probably been connected to power over the winter, and it has suffered liquid ingress, and yuck. That looks like one of Louis Rossmann's MacBooks. We have this via in particular is making me highly suspicious. Highly suspicious. Because that looks very, very sad. And we've obviously had liquid gathering in this little pool of glue. So there's been droplets forming here and just kind of sitting around, most likely. When I opened this box up, I also noticed there was a considerable smell of damp electronics. It's difficult to explain, but when you have these electrical boxes that just sit around for ages, closed up with a bit of moisture in, they get a particular smell to them. So that's what we're dealing with. This box also seems to have a bunch of really dodgy handwork in it. Like all of this is hand-soldered, and most of this is not liquid damage, it's actually flux. You can see this is hand-soldered clearly. that's oven soldered. So someone's had a go at this in the factory for whatever reason, if it's due to some customization, some options package that they just solder these parts in manually, or if there was some problem. But yeah, I don't dig all of this flux residue at all. It's not really cool in my book, so we need to just scrub this off. Yuck. Not what I like to see. Chat is showing up. Station 240 says, manure spreader is the name I've heard of these called. That's the fancy name, but we're not fancy here. This is a poo sprinkler. Someone else said, so the seals are gone? No, I don't think we have enough liquid damage to have bad seals in this. I think what we're dealing with is just condensation. Although, oh god, that looks... ugh. That's still hand soldered, it just looks terrible. They should have cleaned this flux up better. I think we're dealing with condensation. The box has just been sealed kind of too well, although not completely too well, because if we have a look... oops, let's take care of that. They've actually mounted the board using screws from the outside, and there's no proper sealant either on top or below them, so this is a possible mode of entry for liquid into this enclosure. They have put hot glue around the standoffs, but that is clearly not sealing well, and it's kind of coming off. They're not mounted down very well at all. We can also see rust forming on the emergency stop switch, and there's it's not too bad on the underside. Actually, this looks reasonably happy. It's just got that liquid damaged smell to it. This is the wireless module, which this is something I had not noticed before, because it didn't take the board out in the field. This looks promising. That is most probably liquid damage residue, not flux. Although this whole thing looks all coarse and brushed. It's been brushed with something. How odd. It's as if they've conformally coated this at some point, but then they decided to replace the module or something, but this is sitting on a connector, so I don't see why they'd be soldering it. What else can we tell? We definitely have rust on that pin there, for sure. And that would be what? It is the main fuse. There's a polyfuse right there. So this would always be energized. I think this the tractor was off when I saw this, and there was still 12 volts coming to this, so it's probably energized 24/7 F365. Let's have a bit of a closer look at the small board as well, because when I took this off, I made an observation. God, I need more bench space. Microscope, there we go. So this, I'm not sure what this board is, but it does have the radio channel setting. Now look at that. That is definitely some form of corrosion forming inside this pin. Now we're ignoring the stuff in the background there, that's just flux. This is what we care about. because this really seems to have some oxidation inside. Where do we go? Inside of a pin there. I am not fine with that, the way that looks. I wish the Chinese wouldn't have lost my ultrasonic cleaner. So sadly we don't have one of those. The pins do look reasonably good down at the bottom there, you can't see it. But I still want to clean that connector out. No question about it. We should also be cleaning all the flux residue off. And we'll just kind of go from there, I guess. Start with a small board, that's easy to work with. And since I don't have an ultrasonic cleaner, we're going to be using an electric toothbrush. And isopropyl alcohol. Since this thing actually works now, I don't think we have any component failures except for some corrosion of a big board and this stuff, so that's very thankful. Omar Mekawi says hi. Hello Omar, nice to see you. Someone else says, was that mold on the sticker? Like the sticker on the Wi-Fi module? Maybe. We will be looking at that later. We will be looking at that later. Someone asked how the lockdown is treating everybody, and someone is just spamming F. I suppose there are respects to pay. That looks much nicer already. So this flux should not be a huge issue. Even if it looks really bad, it's generally not conductive. It's generally not... Well, it can collect water sometimes and become conductive while it's wet, but we should be seeing more corrosion if that was the case. And we're not actually seeing a lot of corrosion around the flux, so I don't think the flux is actually a problem. So I'm trying to hopefully get a couple of strands of the brush down into the connector while we're doing this. It works sometimes, other times it doesn't. How's that look? That's quite alright. It hasn't really worn through the gold plating of the contact or anything, so I think that's good to go. Now we'll just... I want to take a look at this board just to kind of gauge what's going on. Really should get rid of this hot snot because it's not doing us any favors at all. So we're going to use a blade for that. An issue could also be that the dip switches, these guys, for selecting the RF channel are oxidized and not happy and not making good connections. That's not what you want to see underneath your hot snot. Although that is mostly flux residue, not water damage. This actually looks pretty okay. There aren't really any traces underneath this stuff, so there's no real reason to remove it, although we've already got alcohol underneath it, so might as well. Get it out of the way, that is. Oh, that's not alcohol, that's water. Maybe it was alcohol and just a super thin layer that just instantly evaporated. It really did not smell like isopropyl though. It has to be my sense of smell lying to me, because there's no way water would have evaporated that quickly. So this really does look mostly like it's flux residue. Yeah, it's not eating through the solder mask. I think that's alright. This whole area as well, they've not done a super good job soldering these filters in place. You can see there's no solder at all on that side there. But that's minor. Now this area seems to have some actual corrosion. This filter, that's not really put down straight. Seems kind of greenish, so we'll give that some attention once we get there. Oh, this area as well. Ugh. It's really difficult to tell if it's flux residue or water damage on this particular part of the board. I think that's only flux residue and no water damage. Again, it could be a slight combination of both as well. Now this is water damage. You can see that there's been current flowing between these pads because nothing's been soldered there, yet we have a considerable residue forming, so that's going to be due to moisture coming bridging the pins, and it seems as if some of these pins have a voltage differential even though they are not populated. That looks, yeah. So yeah, let's just toothbrush this whole thing and see what we end up with. I don't think there's going to be any issue on this board aside from maybe the dip switch. I think the problem is going to be the more concerning water damage on the main board, where we can actually see that we have like damage. Now the better way to do this would be an ultrasonic cleaner and an isopropyl bath, but due to the unforeseen shortage of isopropyl alcohol in the world, and due to the Chinese losing my ultrasonic cleaner in the shipping, well, we're kind of screwed on that front. This is cleaning up nicely though. The flux is not difficult to dissolve. I can feel that with just a real clean board underneath. So let's see what we've ended up with. Yeah, look how much nicer and shinier that is now. Even the one capacitor filter thing I suspected is looking nice and clean. It's not mounted. It's not mounted properly, but go away, lint. But it shouldn't cause an issue. This one's not actually soldered down though. Like, the solder's not taking, so those are not usually critical, but let's just take care of that. Let's just make it better. Is this solder tip small enough? Oh yeah, that's gonna be fine. S12BN0122 says, lol, poo sprinkler? Yes, poo sprinkler. We are all depending upon poo sprinklers for our food supply. If not for the poo sprinklers, we would all be starving. So we do need to take good care of our poo sprinklers. Sad face. We're out of coffee. Robin Vandenide says, put some silica packets in there to keep it dry afterwards. Yeah, I've actually got some in the oven drying right now. In fact, I should probably check on the silica packets in the oven, just to make sure I'm not setting them on fire. Thank you for reminding me. 97 degrees C. We can just nudge the thermostat up on that, get it just above 100. And back to work. Alphonse Jean asks, so you ordered an ultrasonic cleaner just before the corona thingy? No, it was quite a while ago. And it just kind of never arrived, and I got my money back, and I just didn't bother ordering another one because there was this one really good model that did exactly what I wanted for like 700 euros or so, and they discontinued that model, of course. And all the replacements are missing the sweep functionality, and I want the sweep functionality as per the Rossmann God's recommendation. So I've just kind of not dealt with the ultrasonic problem. I really do need to get one though, for this sort of thing. Come on. Take solder. There we go. Now that's soldered. That's not going to make any difference, but you know, it's good practice. It's a problem. We found it, we fixed it. Oh, this filter's not soldered either. That via looks really sad, so we'll just fill that up with solder as well. My tip is too fat. That's usually a good problem to have, but not today. I can't get any heat down into the board. Maybe from the other side. There we go. That's soldered. Let's just fill that via up. There we go, it dribbled through. I don't think that's going to be a point of failure. But I'd rather be safe than sorry. Come on, get the excess, there we go. How does the underside of this look? Huh. We have a budge. They've cut a trace or two there. They've cut a whole bunch of traces, and that's what this wire is all about. I'm not liking what I see under this hot glue. I'm not liking what I see at all. No, there's either flux or liquid damage underneath there. I think we want to take a look underneath. I don't trust this. Seems to be mostly flux, which is good. Rather flux than liquid damage. We're getting rid of the hot glue anyway. We're putting something better on there while we put it back together. I'm not a fan of hot glue. It's just not very good. Like, a problem with hot glue is, as happens with the alcohol, can happen with water as well. It'll just kind of wick underneath it and start corroding away. Because the bond that hot glue makes to other surfaces is just not very good. So you can have like a blob of hot glue that looks perfectly fine, but once you take it apart, take it off, you find that it's just completely corroded underneath. but I don't think that's what we're dealing with here. No, this is a bit floxy and ugly, but there's nothing actually destroying anything. So we'll just clean it up. Alphonse Jean asks, what's so special about the ultrasonic cleaner you ordered? The variable sweep function and the variable power setting. Like the ones that have sweep functionality have a more proper amplifier driving the ultrasonic elements, and they just allow you to set stuff like sweep frequencies and power settings and stuff that just makes it do a much better job at actually cleaning things. The sweep functionality is something that Rossmann is really picky about, because without it, it'll find spots, like if you have one that just uses a single set frequency, it'll find like spots where it resonates, and it'll clean those spots very, very, very well, perhaps even to the point of damaging something. And the spots that don't really fit the resonant frequency of a cleaner will just not get treated. So I want to see that these solder joints are fine on these, and I do that by very slightly pushing on the pin and seeing if they move. So that's fine. These are all fine. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. So I think we're starting to be done with this board, or are we? Are we starting to be done with this board? That's dodgy. That's dodgy looking. I want to add some more solder to this because it's just about started corroding the copper. And the copper film is so thin on PCBs that it takes really very little corrosion to actually break a trace. So I'll just give that the tiniest bit of solder. There we go. And that's now increased the thickness of that trace by several times. I think we're done with this board right now. The only thing really left to do is to just put some alcohol on the switch and toggle it a few times, just to make sure it hasn't oxidized to shit inside. There we go. This board is ready to be tested again, so let's move on to the big one and the actual problem. So our power input is on power plus and power minus there, so this whole area seems to be pretty dedicated to power supply. Now this seems to be the main polyfuse for the entire control side. This seems to be the main relay for powering all the heavy duty stuff. It runs like a bunch of solenoid valves and stuff. It can draw up to 40 amps. And that's what all these big driver chips are for. This one. Oh god, this box must have been repaired at some point. Like, geez, that's definitely soldered. Definitely soldered. Aha, yeah. So, oven soldered, hand soldered, oven soldered, hand soldered, and not cleaned. So we need to clean that up. I would expect that's just, guess they had a bad driver since this thing is new. So they got a bad chip and had to fix that. This is the connector for the board we just worked at, so let's have a look. Yeah, we can very clearly see some corrosion on there, on that one particular pin. And this connector does not go all the way down, so that's not good. We need to clean that up before we reassemble. This is not going to be a problem because the box works. Jeez. Jeez, guys. Well, that's not how it's supposed to look. That's not how it's supposed to be done. I mean, that's how I would do it, but I'm not a factory. Naughty, naughty. How do we have? Hello there, liquid damage. So that's not a huge deal, but there's definitely some corrosion. Thus, we'll just put some fresh flux and reflow that one pin. It doesn't really show up on camera too well, but there's green corrosion there. Now, green corrosion is very different from the white corrosion, because white corrosion is flux, green corrosion is water damage. Know your colors, it could save your job. Yuck, fresh solder, please. This is the part where I embarrassingly bridge like 10 pins together. Jeez, take some solder in the right spots. There we go. Fresh solder. There's more green corrosion. More green corrosion. So there's been something going on underneath that thing. That's never good. Let's just hope there's been no real damage underneath this chip. I really don't feel like taking it off because it has a million pins. It's okay to bridge the pins because they already did that. Those three, I don't want to touch, they're too fat. More corrosion. More green corrosion. Station 240 says green equals copper oxide. That sounds... whoa, look at that trace. This is definitely liquid ingress underneath the solder mask. Solder resist, rather. Now we have it over here as well. I don't think that's going to have damaged anything, but we want to get rid of that and tin this whole trace, because once you have the solder resist starting to let go of the copper, it can trap water, and the slightest amount can actually cause it to very slowly corrode in half. I just definitely bridged those two pins, didn't I? Oh. Knew it. It would happen sooner or later. I'm not sure if the factory bridges are mandatory or not, so I'm going to just not remove any bridges I see. There are, in the frame right now, there is one bridge that I caused and one bridge that is factory. Mission critical solder bridges. I know there's actually a trace going between those two pins. So I didn't ruin it. Good. So that's all just flux, and there's some green corrosion. A small amount. I don't think this has actually done any damage, so we'll just clean it up. This has done some damage though, so we will reflow that. In the corner, my tip is just too fat. It's a bit ugly, but it's gonna work. Yeah. Not gonna cause an issue. That's just slightly green. I'm gonna call the rest of that just good enough. Good enough for me. I don't think there's anything that's gonna cause issues. So let's move on to the main attraction, the power supply section. So the polyfuse was rusted on the underside, but that's really not why we're here. Oh, this is not good. This is not a happy board. And this is not hot glue, so it's going to be annoying to remove. Let's see if a bit of alcohol isn't going to get underneath it and make our lives a little bit easier. Alcohol always makes your life easier. And the alcohol is just kind of slightly dissolving it and not getting in between it, which is meh. Oh no, the alcohol. The alcohol is helping. The alcohol is helping. Now, as far as liquid ingress into this particular box is concerned, there could be like ammonia vapors or like manure vapors getting in, since it's literally, this sits outside the tractor on the actual poo sprinkler. There we go. That's our glue out of the way. And that actually does not look as bad as I thought it would. I want to see that that capacitor is not shorted. And we of course want to get to the V over there. Make sure it's not on fire. Well, it's not going to go on fire if it doesn't conduct anything. Do our probes work? Yes, they do. Complete short circuit. Complete short circuit. Now I wonder if these are actually capacitors. They could be chokes. I would not expect to see a short circuit across both of them if they were failed capacitors. Well, that's a capacitor and it is not short circuit. I think this is not a capacitor because we have a signal coming from this via going through this, then into a capacitor down to ground. So this would be a series inductor or series resistor. And here we also have ground going through a trace to ground on that capacitor, and then onwards to something. So that's, yeah, these are filter chokes, they're not capacitors. So it is good that they are shorted. It is what we want to see. And these filters were a bit nasty, that's about it. Let's just give this a good rub. A good rub. Lots of alcohol and a good rub. Let's see how that looks. Bit better. I want to reflow these chokes just because they were so corroded and nasty. We want to desolder this connector, have a look underneath. Definitely fill that via by VR. So this is looking good. I keep a keen eye on how the solder melts on the component when I reflow it. Because if the solder melts on the board but not the component, there's likely to have been an invisible solder fault. But we are not seeing that, it's all melting nicely. So I don't think any of this is going to be the cause of failure in this device. I think we're just doing housekeeping basically. I can really get all the crap out of this crevice, but we'll just put some fresh solder on the stuff and call it a day. These are just bridged together, so we can do like the manufacturer did and just do that, because there's just a big series circuit. No prob. You. Now here's what we don't want to see. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. That's bad. We need to clean this. I see. I should really take it off, shouldn't we? I don't want to take it off. But I think we have no choice, that looks so bad. There could be a via underneath that chip. And if there's a via underneath a chip that looks like that, it's no good. It's not okay. It's going to be causing intermittent problems, and you can't have intermittent problems on your completely uptime machine. 420 something degrees C. Let's note that the circle on the chip, it's actually marked on the solder mask, that's good. Circle on the chip towards the white marking. Actually, that's not what I wanted to do. Crap. I just wanted some fresh solder on the pads to lower the melting point a bit. Oh well. There we go. There is indeed a via down there. Good thing we took that chip off. The via does not look too bad, but I don't trust it, so we're going to be filling it up with solder, just to be sure. A bit of booze, a bit of Q-tip, a good clean, a good rub. Now this looks nice and happy. How it does have a chip look underneath. Yeah. Not too happy. It's clean enough between the pins, I do think, but we'll give it a bit. Whoa! Let's not throw the big, expensive, replaceable box with its tiny chip away. Let's just give it a bit of a brushing. The Rossmann would hate me for doing that, but it actually is effective. It works very well. I'd rather use an ultrasonic cleaner, but, you know, we don't have that option right now. So let's put this back. Oh yeah, we need to fill the via. Whoops, almost forgot. There we go. Nice and clean. I don't think that via had any problems. It looked happy. We need to get rid of the excess solder on 2 pins of that chip. Because I bridged them while removing it, and that's not good. Unless they are intentional bridges, like we have all over this machine, but these pins were not intentionally bridged by the manufacturer. Okay, let's just solder that in place. And get rid of the excess solder first, because I need it to stick. We actually have such long pads, I think this solder is going to take care of itself. Okay, we just recycled it. Beautiful. That's one variable taken care of. Now let's move on to the elephant in the room, that is this connector and the via. So if you weren't here a while ago, we had lots of liquid damage in this particular area, and there's a via there that I suspect might be failed, so we're going to have to take the black connector off and deal with that. So we have the open side towards there. Noted. I don't think we're going to manage to desolder this without extra solder. But we'll give it one go. That's actually coming reasonably, but I need to use a different tip. The hole on this one is too big, and you need a very tight fit. And if the pin doesn't fit the hole very tightly, it's not going to suck properly. And it's very important for your hole to suck properly. Where is Robin van den Eyde says, bringing the solder cow. How suitable we have a solder cow for the manure machine. This gun is starting to get an issue, which all of these seem to get, where the heater just kind of expands, so they become difficult to take apart. Go. Something's making a funny noise. The funny noise went away. Okay then. Let's retry our suck. That was a good suck. I'm not sure about the quality of that suck. These seem to be reasonable quality sucks. Add a bit of salt to that tip to moisten it up. We don't want our sucks to be dry. Over jokes. These traces are a bit fatter. We need more suck for the fat trace. Fatter the trace, longer the suck. Oh, it's gone well. Because it's off now. Satisfying. That was a good suck. And a worthwhile suck. A very worthwhile suck. Let's have a closer look. That's the wrong way. It doesn't want to stick in place. That is some corrosion. And keep in mind we already cleaned this area. So I really want to jump this trace. I want to suck all the solder out of there, jump a wire across there because I don't trust those vias at all. And we need to clean the underside of the connector. We don't seem to have any actual damage here, which is good. But yeah, that's our plan. I think this via is going to be our main cause of failure. I think it's just no good. Someone's talking something back to references. Sorry, I'm very bad at references. So whatever you thought I was referencing, I wasn't. Sorry. I'm going to put just a little bit of solder onto the via, and then we're going to use the cow to get the suck onto the manure machine. You stay in place. Did we get the suck? We did get the suck. Yes, let's just run a wire through there. In fact, yeah. Let's actually, I think I might end up resucking this because I want to clean all the solder resists off of the trace there, so we can solder our jumper down to the trace to make it more mechanically sane. I'll see if I can manage it without filling the holes back up. There we go. Solder braid is very good at just rubbing off solder resist. Is that... yeah, that's good enough. Maybe we can fit 2 of these in there, but I think 1 is going to be plenty. It's time to dual wield some tweezers. Beautiful. That's quality. Right there. And that's going to stay in place. And now we can just clean up the rest of the area, make sure, remember to cut the slack on the other side, because else there's going to be copper wire going everywhere. Nice and clean. And if we look at the connector, we can really see the horror of it all. That's not good. That's bad. Quite bad. Where's my pink toothbrush? Oh, there it is. A little bit more. That's much better. No more green crap. Oh, Ray V Jr. said hello a while ago. Hello. And yeah, this is going back now. That's wrong. That's correct. This connector is not actually used for anything in the machine, so we could just leave it out, but could be some manufacturer diagnostic thing that's going to be needed at some point. Let's cut the copper wire while we remember to do that. And solder this thing back in place. And turn on the obnoxious MacBook fan, because else I die. This soldering pump actually mangled these pads a little. Whoops. But it's fine. I think we've unmangled more than we've mangled in this device. While soldering boards like this, where you have probably internal layers, and vias, is that you allow enough time for the solder to actually flow down into the via, so that you have a joint going all the way to the other side, to the other layer. Because if you don't, yeah, it's just not gonna be connecting to all the places it's supposed to connect. Rasseberry says hello. Hello, Rasseberry. PC Tonttu asks, how's the house renovation going? Well, it's done, as it has been for quite a while. Those videos I'm publishing right now are rather old. They're from like this time of year last year. Yeah, the filmed them in the beginning of 2019. Last one from maybe March or something. AQIB2000 says, easy cleanup so far, let's see if anything actually works. Well, it actually worked before we started, so yeah. The best we can see is no degradation. This thing, it did not work out in the field, but it did work when I wired it up on the bench. Even though supply voltage was good. So, you, I don't like that. I don't like that. Mommy, I don't like that. Let's throw a tantrum on these. Come on. Get that solder resistor. Yeah, we need to use a bit of braid to rub the solder resist off there. Without sucking all my nice fresh solder up, or holding on to the copper braid that's 300 degrees. There we go. Need more flux. I was optimistic doing that without flux. Bit too optimistic. But at least we can now see that the trace is actually not broken there. It's doing just fine. Good. Clean enough for me. That solder joint is fine, but it's meh. I want to just put some booze on there and give it a rub. So this is going to be the wireless antenna. We don't want any oxidation there because there's so little light, but if that shorts to ground, well, there ain't much current to take from. Hey, I went in the right direction. Let's just clean up this whole row as well because it's nasty. Nasty. Where did my paper go? Oh. That's nice. Let's have a look at all of these hand soldered things. Where are we? They look nasty, but not water damaged. So let's just clean them up, get rid of the flux residue, and call it okay. Where are we? So I'm not seeing anything broken underneath there. That's fine. No problems. Oh yeah, we have this ugly rusted polyfuse. We'll just suck that. I know it's glued on the other side, so we can just suck it all. Now the question is, do we want to maybe take the polyfuse off to have a look at what it's like this side of the board? I don't think so, it looks really clean. I don't think we're going to have a problem there. The grey glue seems to be reasonably good as long as there's coverage. So we'll just flow that back on. And that's beautiful. And now it's clean as well. And I want to take a look at this connector just in case there's anything going. Looks fine. So that just leaves us with the wireless transmitter module, which does have some signs. Oh, we have signs and symptoms. I do believe this wireless module has corona. Let's have a look. Because we can see right here we have a dry cough, and over here we have a high fever. Definitely a high fever on these pins, and it's just coughing up virus everywhere. Yes, indeed. And it has community spread because this socket is also infected. And let's just make a note of which direction this is supposed to go. The note goes there. And it has a pin 1. And it has a pin 18. Right, this might also be a reason why it's not working, because without the wireless module, well, the handheld wireless controller is hardly going to be able to do its job. So we'll just toothbrush this. Toothbrush it right good. Edward Hartman says, are there enough ventilators for the Wi-Fi module? There are not enough ventilators because this thing has no ventilation. It's a completely sealed unit. Save for the holes they've drilled in the case to put screws through, but we're ignoring those. I've also completely cleaned off my markings, so I'm relying on my memory for the positioning. I know the stick is supposed to go that way and pin 18 goes that way. 18. Let's remember that's, you know, that corner. Let's hope there's no ingress on the actual module. It looks pretty okay. Looking in through the sides here, I'm not seeing any corrosion inside, which is good. Now I think really the only issue is we have some corrosion on the connector. There's the corrosion underneath the connector. Yes, there is. Let's just take the connector off and see what we have underneath. The cow has been constipated. It's time to empty the manure. Yep, plenty of manure. Good enough. I need to swap filters in this thing quite soon. Let's penetrate our cow. Lewd. Nice. How's this look? Is it off? Not quite. We just have one pin that's not quite come off, so no prob. There we go. And indeed we do have a tiny bit of corrosion there. Nothing too major, but I don't like that, so we're going to just swap that, do the other side, put it back on. I don't think that's enough to cause any issues. I just took it off because it's a good practice to do so. That's nice and clean. That's nice. None of the traces are broken. Nothing's really bad here. All the vias are nice. This is okay. I don't mind this at all. We can work with it. Well, my advice cannot work with it, clearly. Oh well. Oh well. Oh, let's just clean this off as well. There's just a tiny bit of corrosion of a connector there. Oh, thanks to Robin van den Nijd for again reminding me of the silica gel packets. I don't think there's an upper limit how long you can draw them, but I do need to check on them since I did adjust the temperature and just kind of forget about them. So yeah, let's do some ASMR while I go check the silica gel. Why is my kitchen full of smoke and fire? Nah. 102C. 105 in the back. I can feel some moisture coming out of these. Let's just flip them all around. This is working great. I can literally feel how the outside of the packets are slightly moist. Well, not moist, but they feel as if they've been in a humid room for some time. So this is all nice and clean now. Let's get it back on there. You really don't need a microscope for this type of soldering, but you know, we have one. Might as well use it. Whoops. There we go. That's one nice clean connector. Let's do the other side if there's also corrosion underneath the connector. That actually seems not to be corrosion underneath this connector. Not a trace. Oh, that's fine, we don't need to take this one off. So we'll just clean this off with a toothbrush and it'll be happy. Tall Beast says hello. Hello, Tall Beast. I hope you're having a nice evening. So how's this look? Needs a bit more of a rub. That's good enough, I think. The solder joints are really ugly. I think we'll just kind of touch the solder joints up with a bit of flux and be happy about that. I don't really think this is necessary, but when it comes to big, expensive equipment like this, the downtime that they miss out on a potential failure is worth a lot more than me taking a few minutes to clean this up properly. Tall B says 7:24 AM here in New Zealand. Well, good morning then. Or good very late evening. Get soldered, jeez. What is this? What is that? Looks terrible because we're using a crappy factory solder, but it's going to be good enough. This is not like these pins are not under any kind of mechanical stress, even though they're holding the module in place. There's just so many of them, and the module is so light. It's a bit ugly, but it's gonna be absolutely acceptable quality. A small scratch between the legs there, and it's gonna be done. I'm happy with that. There's a tiny bit left, but it's not gonna be an issue at all. Not a problem. In fact, with this, let's put a tiny amount of oil-based stuff on there before we put it in place. Although I want to make sure that this looks fine on the other side as well. Well, would you look at that? That's not happy at all. Not happy. It's sad. Yeah, and that's just more of a terrible flux. Yeah, we gotta remove this glue and just clean it up on the top of the board before we put the oil-based lubricant in there, because if we put the oil-based lubricant on before we solder, it's just going to turn into a big mess. Alison Pell says, given that loss of sense of smell/taste is a symptom of the coronavirus, that wireless module has definitely had it, because it was unable to sniff out a signal. That is a quality joke. I approve of your sense of humour. So alcohol did help us a bit in removing this adhesive, so we'll just use a bit more of that. There we go. Nice and clean. Now we can clean up around that chip. I don't think we need to desolder that, because it really does not seem to be a lot of damage here. Just a tiny bit of corrosion between the legs. So I'm just going to toothbrush this off, resolder this connector, because geez, that's not quality. That's disappointing. Yeah. Toothbrush. Toothbrush reflow. Whoa, when did we get 103 views? 102. Shouldn't have said that. Jinxed myself. Hello everyone, welcome to the toothbrushing PCBs channel. So if you're just joining us, which like 70 of you just did, this is the controller for one of those poopy spready things they use on the back of a tractor to allow everyone to eat food, or at least to panic buy food and throw it away. But yes, this is one of those, and the symptom it was having is it would not work in the tractor. The little wireless controller-y thing. This guy. Ah, we have that camera. This guy, which is not that guy. This guy would just not pick up a signal, but when I wired it up in the workshop, it would pick up a signal. And we've found and repaired a lot of corrosion. Now the view has dropped down to 33. I think that was just a glitch, and I'm talking to nobody. Or maybe it was those Indian watch bots I bought. This actually looks a little bit sad. Yeah. I don't like the way you're looking at me, U25. You're green. U24 is nice and clean now though. We will reflow it though, because there's been a tiny bit of corrosion there. I really need to get a better microscope camera. This thing is such complete garbage. Ground plane. It refuses to melt. Come on. I hope you've noticed that I've actually taken the beeper out of my soldering station, so it's no longer giving us a headache. It can make all the noise it wants. It now has no mouth. We cannot hear its pained screams. There we go, that's happy. Let's do the connector as well, since it looks a bit dodgy. Yeah. The factory soldering, this is not good to work with. That wire is just gonna ping, but we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll, yeah, ping. That's fine. Robin Vandenard says should connect a car horn to it instead for April's Fools. That's why I don't have employees. Someone would do that, and I would go on a murderous rampage. I've had this soldering station since 2012 or so, and it has been beeping at me since it was new. It's so nice to not have to listen to that. It's for little things in life. Stupid bubbles, go away. Stop bubbling. Ugh, fine, keep bubbling them. I'm sure it's fine. Well, that sure is something. Hello, diode with 2 wires attached going to places. Yes. Let's also clean this connector up. Because this connector does have oxidation, or rather water damage. Somewhat mild water damage, but water damage nonetheless. swish. Now that's ingenuity. And we are cleaning this up because I remember it looked terrible. Nice. And let's clean this driver up as well because it's got too much flux. That looks nice. Let's also clean this entire area up since it's a big mess of hand soldered stuff. I don't remember if we cleaned this area up after working on it, but we're doing it now. Because we're going to put some glue on there since it was actually glued down from the factory. I think we're starting to get somewhere with this thing. So now we can actually put the oil-based stuff into the Wi-Fi module socket. I thought I saw some corrosion underneath the giant relay. Let's just say there's none, because there's a reasonable risk of damaging the board if we try to get that off and solder on it, because these are so big thermal mass and don't want to risk it. Wi-Fi module. Oh, this actually looks terrible. But we can just toothbrush that since... yeah. That's one of the times where an ultrasonic cleaner really would shine. But I think we got away. We're just using the toothbrush. I think we got away. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. Now we can do our oil-based lubricant. Or rather, PRF Contact 778. This is light oil stuff. It's usually used for like volume control potentiometers. Things like that. It just leaves a thin film, which will do wonders in stopping water from actually getting in between the pin and the socket. And there we are. Keep in mind, 778 is not WD-40. You should not use WD-40 for this sort of thing. It just makes things work not good. Alright. So we really should deal with these standoffs, because they are just hot glued in there, and yeah, that's... oh, there's even a washer down there. That's not going to seal anything at all. I'm not sure what they were thinking doing that. I want to put some more proper glue on there to make sure this thing actually stays dry. And this is what I use for that. Casco Marine och Teknik. Yeah, blue Casco. So we'll just get rid of the hot glue. Use Casco glue instead. The use of hot glue as sealant might be a very contributing factor in this, the failure of this thing. Oh, shut up, you obnoxious fan. I'm not talking about you guys, of course. I just unplugged a device from the audio jack. Okie dokes. This hot glue really wants to stay in place. Stupid information box, go away. I think I want to just kind of get rid of these washers because they seem like something which would allow moisture to kind of crawl inside. Now I should add the entire thing is not just hot glued, it is screwed through the hole in the box. So they're not entirely just relying on hot glue. It's not that bad. And I need to be quicker with this, my alcohol keeps evaporating. Oh, that works well. Exciting times. Comes off really easily as long as the plastic box is super flat, so my blade can slide across. But if it's not completely flat, which plastic rarely is, it's a different story. Now what we're going to do about this stuff, I haven't figured that quite out yet. Oh God. Yeah. How do you even remove this? Yeah. I don't like trying to remove this thing. I think we're going to have to just kind of ignore this because it's going to be really ugly trying to get rid of it. Sadly. But let's hope the leakage we get through the switch is going to be small enough to allow the desiccant bag we're putting in this to give it a good lifetime. I don't want alcohol that strong in my mouth. No, thank you. All right. God, this switch is so ugly. Is it even working right? Do we have a reasonable resistance across you? Yeah, it's actually working just fine. It's actually working just fine, so we'll ignore that problem for the time being, I think. In part because I really want to get this thing back out to the customer tonight, and it's already 10 in the evening, so I'm going to be driving this out in the middle of the night. But that's fine. Okay, so that's the bottom of the box cleaned out, and now we can start putting it back together without the washers because they're completely unnecessary. We're mounting into soft plastic, and we're not mounting a heavy device. It's just a tiny freeboard thing, so it's not gonna need the extra strength. Although I do want to put some extra glue on here because there was glue on that connector, so they've probably had issues where the Wi-Fi module just kind of falls off. And we don't want those problems. We don't want those problems. So let's think about how we're going to do this. I think we're going to start by mounting these standoffs. And screwing them in place. This glue has gone slightly sad. There we go. That was just a plug in the end. Let's start by doing 2. So we can figure out this tactic is actually going to work. Phillips 1. Beautiful. Well, that's actually going to make a good seal, and it's penetrating through, so it's coming out around the screw, so there's also a seal going all the way through to the screw side. So this is better quality than just going with a glue gun around it. I think we're going to have a higher quality product than what we started with. Oh, there's definitely not going to be any coming off. Oh God, glue going everywhere. Definitely glue going everywhere, but that's fine. We are not concerned. Bigger the glob, better the job. Should probably put the actual standoff in there. Not just bury my screwdriver in glue. I'm making sure that there's a bit of glue popping through the hole so we get a seal around the screw. There we go. All nice with some glue poking out around the screw, so that we can be sure that it's sealing properly. This glue is one of those dangerous things that once you get it somewhere, it will be everywhere. But I think we've done a reasonable job not getting it somewhere. The power switch for power switch. Oh god, it smells like water coming out of the power switch. No, it's just rusty hot glue. And I think before we do final assembly, I'll just put a ring of glue on the outside here, so that we've at least got something better than just the hot glue on the inside. But I don't want to do that right now because it's just going to make a mess. So now we can glue the Wi-Fi module, not Wi-Fi module, the 868 MHz radio module in place. There we go. That will not go anywhere, no matter how hard they drive the tractor. Bit extra on the antenna just for good measure. Which way around is this supposed to go? It has to be that way. Called it. It will now be everywhere. This glue does not dissolve in alcohol. It does not really dissolve in anything. We also need to reinstall the glue over there and do a better job putting it on. Though we should probably test it before we do that. This glue I'm confident putting on though. It's just there to hold the wire in place, so it's not too critical. There we go. Beautiful. We are also missing some glue on this, but let's just test it before we put that back. Sakiburger says, "Good evening, have I missed anything exciting? Poo spray?" No, you've missed basically everything except for reassembly, I'm afraid. We've found some water damage, we've fixed some water damage, and now we're putting it back together, minus the water damage. I'll put some light oil stuff on this connector as well. Just the tiniest bit is enough. Again, not WD-40. We're missing some standoffs, but this is going to come off again anyway. And mechanically mess with it a bit to make sure it makes a good connection. Okay, that should really be it, shouldn't it? We can just get back to some power and see if it's alive. And power is over here. So let's start by turning it on. That's on. Click. And let's turn the controller on. Beep. And it does give us the happy radio symbol, which is what we did not see in the field. When I was in the field looking at this, there was a red, sad cross over that. So something's better now. Let's see if we can also see the firmware version of this device. And let's also verify that the firmware version is invisible when the box is off. So we have a firmware version on the remote and on VARF, that's this thing, VARF. So let's just emergency stop that, and that immediately gives us the red radio, and in a second it should throw an error as well. Timeout box. Let's see if we can see. Yeah, we get no software on the box when it's not working. So I do believe we have a confirmed repair. That makes me a happy camper. And that means this farmer is going to be spreading shit everywhere tomorrow morning. Let's see what happens if we just turn this back on, if it will recover. And it's recovered instantly. And we get the software version. Beautiful. Absolutely fine. So let's do the final gluing. and be done with it. Glue, glue, glue. And let's make sure we really get it on all the parts that we're showing signs of corrosion. As long as we have a good seal around everything, there's not going to be a problem. The shape of a terrain really determines where droplets form when you're dealing with condensation. And if you have a solid... I'm getting a phone call. Hallå? Tyvärr, jag sitter och jobbar just nu live på stream också. Vad sa du? Jo, för sen ska jag köra ut den här till andra ändan Holmen. Kanske, jag vet inte. Vi får se hur länge det tar. Han måste kunna köra sin traktor imorgon. Det finns liksom inga alternativ där. Nej. Yes, men ja, vi hörs väl på Steam eller någonting, om inget annat. Yes, hej. No time for gaming. We're spreading glue. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. We have good coverage of the most affected area. So let's get the glue that's missing on this board back. Oh God. Someone says, this looks sophisticated for a poo sprinkler. And you haven't even seen the machine itself. It's got so many hydraulic valvey things and sensory things all over. It's a very high-tech, modern, efficient machine. Like, this thing is basically brand new. Like, it's a year old. The only reason it's here instead of the customer just getting a new part straight from the manufacturer is due to the whole virus thing. It's a little bit difficult getting things here right now. So it's either I fix this now or we wait until the coronavirus has died. And the superior option is, you know, quite self-evident there. That's nice and potted. Let's get the other side because we have some weirdness there as well. This stuff was glued down from a factory. And our job is to improve the quality, not remove it, so we're going to glue that down as well. That's just for mechanical reinforcement, not for moisture protection. Alright, that looks good enough. Good enough for me. And are we missing anything? No, it's just the final standoffs going in place now, and then I'm off to put this back in the tractor in the middle of the night. I asked the owner of this thing, and I was like, "Yep, if everything goes well, I might have this done like by midnight. Can I just come and install it?" And he was like, "Oh yes, as long as I can get it up and running in the morning." So there's going to be like a shady van parked among all the expensive equipment, and a shady guy all dressed in black with a tiny little head torch plugging connectors, and definitely looking as if I'm trying to steal something. And these guys did have little standoffy things, nothing wrong with that. No, standoffy, grippy washer thingies. Are these 5mm or 5.5? 5mm. Where did the board go? Where did the board go? And there's more glue everywhere. We are not missing anything. Let's not ruin the connector doing this. Line up then, you silly thing. I can see they had issues putting this on in the factory as well, because it's all mangled there. So it's just slightly poor fitment. Okay, now the connectors on. And these two pins are not being nice, so we have to just force that in place. Ugh. That's terrible. Also, there's glue everywhere. This stuff is so dangerous. You just get it. This is worse than the coronavirus, because you get it somewhere and it's just literally everywhere. You'll pick your nose in 2 hours and there's glue in your nose. You put on your sunglasses and there's glue on your sunglasses. Oh, God. Oh. That's not really good, but it's on there. All the pins are in the right places. Yeah, nothing doing. just a few more nuts and then we will be done. So the stream is going to end in just a few minutes. So I'm going to have to thank a lot of you for joining me. I hope you have found it somewhat interesting. We have a bunch of washers. I have a few going on there. No, we are not at one washer. There we go. 0 leftover washers. Let's see if we have the same luck with the nuts. Wires Galore says, reminds me of thermal paste. This is like thermal paste except 10 times stickier. It's like thermal paste that you can't dissolve. It is thermal paste's evil brother. But yes, it's similar. Similar in many ways. Let's not over tighten these. It doesn't need to crush itself to destruction. Okay, I think this is now a happy box. So I think the reason for this failure is this enclosure is intended to be completely watertight, but it was not because it was leaking around these and around this, which we really can't rectify, but the leakage rate should be much lower now. So I'm going to throw a desiccant bag in this when I install it in the machine, and hopefully that's going to be enough to keep it running for quite a few years. And I'm not talking like a tiny desiccant bag, I'm talking about like a big chungus desiccant bag that you can really suck some moisture up with. Yep, let's do just one final test of this thing to make sure it hasn't just randomly broken on us, and then we're done. Let's do it in a different turn on sequence now, so let's start by turning that on. So that's on. Dribble. And the dribble is working. Let's also make sure the dribble is working like some distance away. It says it has a range of 50 meters. I'm still happy in the kitchen. I'm in the other end of the house now. And it can still read the firmware version. Beautiful. I am happy calling this a fix and rushing out to install this to the customer. Why is galore? Shouldn't it have a breather for complete water tightness so it doesn't blow out gaskets when temperature shifts? Yep, it should. It doesn't. It's just kind of not completely watertight. So yeah, it's going to be leaking around the button. That's the button is the breather, if you want to call it that, because it's not completely tight. So yeah, it's not optimal, but what you're going to do. It's also got like a shit ton of wire pass-through, so they're not going to be completely tight either. They're just like the screw-in type. So yeah, this thing is going to be leaking, but hopefully it's going to be leaking just around here and around the bottom where all the wires come out, and not like here where it's really super exposed to the elements. It should have a more proper system for dealing with moisture. I completely agree. George Baker says, are you installing it tonight? Yes, I'm going to install it ASAP, because they want this thing up and running by 6 tomorrow. Saki Bugger says, should be a couple €100 in your pocket. If it works, yeah, it's definitely worth them. I mean, the downtime for 1 day in a tractor that's, you know, able to poo on half a field at a time is going to be immense. And when I got there today, the operator was just kind of standing around looking for things to do. So yeah, they are missing this thing dearly. So yeah, that's going to be it. I don't know how to properly end these streams still with the new streaming interface thing, so I'm just assuming that it quits when... I don't know. I have no clue. Well, let's say I've faffed about long enough and I can just click the end stream button. Bye!